Welcome to In Conversation with Evergreen London Consulting, where we discuss the intersection between business and sustainability, and we try to focus on people, profit, and planet. I'm Natasha Robert. I'm the founder of Evergreen London Consulting and your host. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Jodie and Sheridan, who is currently associate advisor at Collingwood. Jodie works with events funder to help them scale for growth. She previously worked in the field of sustainable finance in the European Union for PwC. Welcome, Jodie, and thanks a lot for joining the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, let's start about you. Tell me what your work entail and what you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, I'm currently an associate advisor at Collingwood, which is an advisory firm working with kind of entrepreneurs, founders in the media industry. So my day-to-day looks very different every day. But
Good.
it's mostly, yeah, it's mostly working with founders and senior management team members of scaling companies in the media industry. Specifically, I'm targeted on events, helping them understand how they can scale their business, helping them on kind of tactical areas of their business like sales, marketing, etc.
Okay. And do you look at specific type of events or you look across the board?
No, across the board. So from your teeny tiny conferences to your enormous trade shows, it's a mixed bag.
Amazing. And Europe, across the world?
Yeah, we're global. So we've got clients UK, Europe, America, Australia. I'm particularly focused on my Australia clients because I'm an early bird. So
Well, that's good.
yeah.
Definitely good for Australia. Yeah. Amazing. Great. And what's your favorite part in your current job?
Um, so before joining Collingwood, as you mentioned, I worked at PwC in Luxembourg, where I was working with the EU institutions, so particularly the European Investment Bank and the European Commission. And I was supporting them on kind of embedding sustainability within their frameworks, but also the design and implementation of their financial instruments, particularly in the field of sustainability. So it was great and I loved it. But it's very high level, so you sometimes don't see the impact that your work is having at the granular level.
Amazing. Yeah.
So what I really like about Collingwood is that I can really see the impact that my work is having because we're working directly with the founders and their senior management team, and we're really focused on, helping them achieve their life goals as well. So it can be small things like a founder saying to us, "Wow, I had my first 2-week holiday in years,
Oh,
thanks to
wow.
the changes we've made in the business." And it's small things like that that just bring a lot of meaning to my day-to-day work.
Wow. Lots of happiness and happy clients, happy funders. It's good.
Yeah.
Amazing side of it. And so if we move into sustainability, so it's great that you've got experience on that. What does sustainability mean for you?
Good question, big question.
Yes,
It's
it
a big
is. Very
topic, and
different.
there are, yeah, lots of different answers to that question, I'm sure. Um, but at the high level, if I think of a way that, anybody could think about it and apply it is, for me, it means making choices today that are not going to take away from future generations of, people, but also the natural capital we have in our world in the future. So I like to think about it in terms of being quite conscious about how you expend your limited resources in this lifetime. So for me, there are kind of 3 resources that we have at our disposal: time, effort, and money. And every time you make a choice as to where you're going to spend one of those things, that's a choice that you're making about the world you want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's the best way to think about it. I mean, obviously, big changes are going to come from government, so regulation, policies, etc. Big change is going to come from finance. Money runs the world.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the big things that come. But I think that people really underestimate how much of an impact they can have as an individual by being conscious about how you spend your time, energy, and money into having this conversation, into getting the discourse going. Or it might be, even if you don't work in the field of sustainability, it might be that you are head of, operations in a big company and you decide to implement a policy that will have a small impact on sustainability in the field that you're working in. It's just being conscious about that and making decisions in your sphere of control that can contribute to sustainability goals. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, amazing. I like the fact that you're looking at it from the three angle, and I think that's really key. I mean, that's one of the reason I told you I kind of created this podcast is to push the influence that everybody can have, and also to get people to talk more about it. So then hopefully it's going to be easier for them to make the decision with an angle on whatever is the definition of sustainability. So
Yeah, exactly. And I think that it's quite easy to feel powerless as one small individual, especially, if you're not working at that high level. And I think, thinking it in that way, in terms of every time I make a choice about how I'm spending my time, my energy, or my money, is a choice that can contribute to that, kind of empowers you.
Yeah.
And it's small things that I think we forget that as consumers and as individuals, we actually have so much power as a collective, like our choices will dictate the world that we're living in terms of, okay, I'm going to choose to buy this product because it's more aligned with sustainability than that product. Well, we know that consumer behaviors like that then dictate the way that companies run. So I think that shouldn't be underestimated.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I think it's like I always say, it's a bit like they talk about the 1% improvement on processes. It's the same thing as everybody was doing a little actions and it will all sum up to a lot of benefit
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
overall sustainability definition.
And I feel quite positive about it. I mean, I always get excited when I see things happening that are, in line with what I think are sustainability goals. Like, I think this podcast that you're doing is great.
Thank you.
I saw a couple of weeks ago that, stuff like the Maldivian government denied an appeal for longline fishing to be reintroduced in the Maldives. I follow quite a few kind of green investment funds, like seeing what they're investing in is great. But that's equally as positive to me as seeing stuff like going to the supermarket with my friends and them checking, where all of the products they're buying have coming from and being like, no, I'm not going to get the blueberries from Peru. I'm going to buy the apples from, Kent or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
well,
seeing my
that's a
young
big
sister.
achievement, I think.
Yeah,
I agree with you. And I
exactly.
think that's a big step if people were conscious about where they buy things. And you're right, if we all slowly change the way we consume, then people will have to adapt.
Yeah,
And so we've got a
exactly.
big power.
Yeah.
So you gave quite a lot of examples of what things you do on sustainability and if you kind of your friends, things like that. What's the biggest thing that you currently do in your life? I mean, you live in Cornwall, which is
Hmm.
a beautiful part of the world, but is there one specific things that you do to kind of push sustainability in your life?
I mean, I think that aligned with what I said about being conscious with your choices, and aligned with what you're doing here, kind of getting the discourse going. So I've always been, I think that kind of, yeah, again, what you can do within your sphere of control is the best thing that you can do. And for me, I've always seen kind of local politics as a really good way to kind of get this discourse going within your community, and trying to promote sustainability within your area. So for instance, I recently joined one of my local kind of, one of the small scale political bodies.
Okay.
And I've joined them and I'm going to start participating in their board.
Okay.
And I'm just going to be bringing that discussion to the table. So, we're planning to build this new massive thing here. Have you thought about the local seabird population and the fact that we have this nesting ground for red listed species of seabirds near us, which is one of the last 16
Wow.
nesting grounds in the UK? 4 out of 5 people on the board didn't know that. Oh, wow, it's amazing. I didn't know we had that in our area. That's really exciting. Okay, what can we do to make sure that they stay protected? Stuff like that, So just being curious and again, where you can, finding the opportunities to make a difference.
Amazing. I didn't know you joined that. That's an amazing step. Well done.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so that's that's an important part, protecting nature and then making sure we don't, well, invade them too much, or let them live wherever they live. So it's amazing.
Exactly. And even after university, I mean, I think it can feel quite daunting as a young person to go into this kind of stuff. But I would encourage the young people to get involved in their local communities and, you know, come and, you know, state their opinions and get their voice out there. Because I remember I was right after I finished uni. I must have been 21, and I moved back to Luxembourg, and I signed up to campaign as part of the local Green political party. I was the youngest person there by a while. I'm not going to insult anybody on this podcast, but you know, I was by far the youngest person across all of the political parties. But they were so excited that I was there and that I was engaged and that I was coming with a different opinion. And I ended up getting a lot of votes, and I sat on the Commission of Tourism, and I just brought a different perspective to the table. And I think that's really important, you know, like be bold, be brave, and yeah, just don't be afraid to start the discussion.
Wow, amazing. Well, you've answered the last question. I've got be bold, be brave, and get out there when you're young. Wow. And I mean, that's quite impressive that you already did that at 21, because there's a lot of people, well, people that I invite on this call saying is like, if I knew, then I would, you know, I would tell myself these type of things, or I would, you know, have the courage to do and join a party at 21. Sustainability advice you will tell young people, listener?
Yeah, so I guess especially for the young people, well, first for the listener, obviously, you know, it's nice to philosophize about this, and it sounds very easy, you know, time, effort, money, just put it in the right place. But we're human, like we're not always gonna get it right. We're always not gonna, you know, prioritize it, and that's fine. I think it's just my recommendation would just be a bit more conscious about it. And even if you're, you know, making a decision that you think, well, maybe I shouldn't do that, you know, at least just having that thought process, I think, is where we should all be heading.
Amazing. Being conscious about about it. And then, you know, even if you don't make a sustainable decision, at least you're thought about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm no saint, right? I'm going on holiday for a friend's wedding to Mexico next week. Like that's you know, perhaps not aligned with our long-term sustainability goals, but you know, I thought about it, I'm conscious of it, and I'm trying to compensate for it in other areas, you know.
Yeah, that's very true. Like that.
In terms of what I would advise 20-year-olds and my 20-year-old self, I think that something that I struggled with a lot when I was younger, and I imagine that it's getting worse for younger generations, is again this feeling of helplessness and powerlessness, especially, you know, as social media has blown up, we're so much more aware of everything that's going on across the world, and we see these big scary statistics about, you know, 75% of wildlife has disappeared over the last 50 years. Hurricane Milton, like whatever it is, all of these indications that go towards the negative impacts you know, that are happening on our environment. I would say that just be careful to not let that overwhelm you. And I would advise myself and anybody else out there who's associated with that feeling to take some advice from Marcus Aurelius and just focus on what's in your control. What's outside of your control is not within your control. So you're only punishing yourself by worrying about it. Just focus on what you can do.
Yeah, control the controllable.
Exactly.
That's a very, very good point. I need to send you there is a podcast, well, there is somebody I follow online that exactly say that, is like, you know, switch off all the notification about the climatic and the nightmare of the climate and the negative side on all of the climate issues, and look at what you can do instead
and
of
celebrate the successes as well.
Yeah, I think so. Every success is a great step towards doing something positive.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You can't beat yourself on everything. Amazing. Well, thank you. Thanks a lot for your time. I think it was an amazing discussion, and
Great. Thank you
good
for
luck
having me.
with all of your political party discussion.
Thank
And let me
you.
know how it goes.
Yeah, and good luck with the continuation of this podcast. I'm excited to see the next edition.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you, you
Thank
too.
you.